What a funny little song that is. That was Bob Ross, or the voice of Bob Ross, right? So he had that PBS painting show where he taught you, and I'm sure a lot of people today still follow him and learn lots of stuff from him. We probably have a lot of very good painters that started with him. But that is PBS Digital Studios. What they've done is they've mashed a bunch of his words together to make it positive, right? That they're happy little clouds. And that's a term that he used a lot, actually, but they've mixed and matched. There's some other ones they do, too. They have a Mr. Rogers one that I also play on Positive Power from time to time. It's called The Garden of Your Mind. Same thing, just a short little snippet of things that make you think. Some things that are relatable, too, right? That's what we need. We need things that we can relate to. Just like we were saying, right, about using the law of attraction. When you're trying to attract something that you've never experienced before, it's pretty hard to put yourself in that zone. Pretty hard to visualize the way that you need to in order to attract that thing to you, right? Because you have to be in both feet and put the bar high. Don't put the bar low because you're going to get it. So, you know, it's like with relationships. Don't settle because you know what? You're stuck with that person, right? Or you should try to be stuck with that person. Quite often, you know, marriages are like commodities for some people, and that's unfortunate because there's no happy endings there, right? You know, I've been the same guy for 21 years, and, you know, I love him all the time, but I don't always like him, and we've had our moments. We certainly have. Oh, my gosh. But, you know, we keep working at it, and it is what it is. It's pretty awesome. Probably definitely my greatest accomplishment as far as relationships. You know, I have 2 exes, and something about the 5-year mark with both of them. It was my 5-year curse or something. You know, I used to believe that. I used to believe there was a big black cloud that followed me around too. But then I realized I ultimately was the wind that could blow that cloud away. So, speaking of wind, I will share some wind with you now on the good news. Time for the good news here on Positive Power. So thank you for joining me for that. This is a pretty cool story. Now, remember when I just played that audio for you, and the guy that was talking was saying about how he was driving along and he was inspired to make that phone call, so he pulled over right away, and he did. When you have that inspired thought, and it is instilling the urge for you to do an action, you need to act on it. It is imperative that you act on it because it's all part of being in the flow, right? So you've got something going on, something jumped in your head. It's like you're driving along and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, you're inspired to turn right instead of turn left. You're inspired to go a different way. If you don't act on it and you wait till the next time you're doing that drive, you're not going to run into the person. You're not going to see the thing. You're not going to be in the right place at the right time. So it is so very important that you do that. When you feel the emotion, act on it then. If it's a lottery ticket, when you feel the emotion, act on it then, right? And when you win that lottery, if you feel like you want to bless Michelle Dion, feel free to do it, because it would be rude to say no. So, and I will bless you back, I tell you. Anyways, so let's get to the news. So it's reflective on this story. I do have a point, actually. So this is pretty cool. When an Australian father went to the police about his missing son, they assured him that he was simply overreacting. But it's a good thing that he didn't listen to them, because he turned out to be correct. Tony Lethbridge of New South Wales, Australia, first became concerned about his son Samuel when he woke up on Sunday morning and found that the 17-year-old had not yet returned from spending the previous night out with his friends. Members of the local police department tried to soothe Lethbridge's nerves by saying it was a false alarm, but the dog dad didn't believe it. When I saw the police, they thought he'd run away. I said, "That's not Samuel. When he doesn't show up or phone, something's seriously wrong," Lethbridge told the Associated Press. He added, "I understand that they've got a lot to do, and they hear this every day, but I took matters into my own hands and was thinking all night that tomorrow morning I'm just going to get a helicopter and go looking for him because we're running out of time. It's been long enough. Lethbridge then walked to the Skyline Aviation Group's office near their home in Lake Macquarie and asked for help. Despite Lethbridge not having enough money to rent a helicopter at full price, the pilots decided to give him a discount in lieu of his dire story. Within 15 minutes of taking off, the helicopter crew spotted Samuel's car crashed in the bushes 12 miles from the family's home. While it was easy to spot from the chopper, it would have been near impossible to see from the road. When rescue crews arrived at the scene of the crash, Samuel had already been caught in the wreckage for 30 hours. But he was still alive. He is currently being treated for multiple fractures at the hospital, while Samuel's family is simply grateful that he was found in time. See, he got that inspired feeling, and he knew what he had to do. And like, what randomly pops in your head to get a helicopter? I mean, maybe that's common where he is, but that's not something I would necessarily think of. So, I don't know, but that's pretty awesome wherever that concept came from. It worked, and he lived. That is so very cool. Next story. Now, you may have heard of this on the mass media, because I did actually hear about this one this morning on our local radio. And I thought it was pretty cool. Pretty cool / a strong indicator of what's going on in this crazy world that we live in, as far as we're so disconnected from each other, which is part of the problem. How can you have one love when we're all disconnected and we're scared to talk to strangers and we're looking at our phone? It's too contradictory, right? So, Britain appointed a minister for loneliness on Wednesday to tackle what Prime Minister Theresa May described as the sad reality of modern life, affecting millions of people. Tracy Crouch, a junior minister for sport and civil society, will take on the role as part of a broader strategy to combat loneliness in Britain. For far too many people, loneliness is the sad reality of modern life, May said. I want to confront this challenge for our society and for all of us to take action to address the loneliness endured by the elderly, by carers, by those who have lost loved ones. I don't know, let's just throw in there for everybody. People who have no one to talk to or share their thoughts and experiences with, the Prime Minister added. More than 9 million people say they are always or often lonely, out of a population of 65.6 million, according to the British Red Cross. Isn't that hard to wrap your head around? So many people, but they're lonely. The charity describes loneliness and isolation as a hidden epidemic affecting people across all ages at various moments in their life, such as retirement, bereavement, or separation. The ministerial appointment follows a recommendation from the committee in memory of Joe Cox, a lawmaker for the opposition Labour Party who was murdered by a far-right extremist. Joe experienced and witnessed loneliness throughout her life, especially as a new student at Cambridge University, and separated from her sister Kim for the first time, the Joe Cox Foundation wrote on Twitter. She would be delighted by Tracy Crouch's new job as Minister for Loneliness and would be saying, "Let's get to work," the foundation added. The Prime Minister was to host a reception on Wednesday to celebrate the legacy left by Cox, whose killing, just days ahead of the 2016 Brexit referendum, shocked the nation. Britain's Loneliness Initiative will see a strategy published later this year with input from national and local government, public services, and voluntary sector and businesses. So that is pretty cool. And here in Canada anyways, and I don't know, I can't assume the States, but it's realistic to think also the States. We're seeing it in the suicides, right? There's so many suicides, and there's only some we hear about, right? It's not like every time there's a suicide they put it in the paper, but you see a lot of it, you find out about a lot of it on, say, Facebook and social media, or you just hear about it, and it's very sad. And so you have to ask yourself, they must have been lonely because they didn't reach out, or, whatever. You can't dig into somebody's head what they're feeling or what they're going through. But That is a very real thing. Another thing that's sort of interesting, that isn't a whole story I'm going to read you, but I heard about on the radio this morning, and being that I do a lot of speaking in the weight loss industry, I totally think this is a great idea. I'm sure there'll be some conflicting viewpoints, and that's great because that's what life is all about. But they are looking at doing a calorie cap on their restaurant food that they put out to the public. And I thought that is really a neat idea. You know, there's a lot of interesting debates as far as the stuff that we consume. But at the end of the day, when you look at comparatively the state of people's health this day, so in 2017, to use a full year for an example, versus 20 years prior to that, versus 20 years prior to that, something's different. And it's the quality of food. It's a whole bunch of things. But a very big thing is portion control. It really is. You know, when I speak for, like, such as Weight Watchers, that's one of the main things. And even myself, you know, I've lost 50 pounds as an adult over time. You know, I've yinged and yanged and gone up and down. And one of the first things that helps me lose weight, well, there's two things. One, giving up pop was a big thing. I used to drink a 2-liter of Pepsi a day without hesitation. And if I was having company, I better get another bottle. That wasn't enough. So I gave up the pop. But portion control is huge. You take the portion of like a dinner plate that you would get at some of these restaurants, like they're mountainous, or these great big burgers that they have the big burger challenges and stuff. Oh, so bad for you. Just terrible. So, you know, the consumer still has the option, right? If you want to like fill yourself up a whole bunch, you can do that. You can, but per meal, they're going to make it so that it is within a reasonable amount of food. Let's be honest. We are a culture of people that we do everything with food. Is it your birthday? Let me make you a cake. Oh, are you grieving? Let me make you a casserole. Oh, geez, the baby crying. Let's give the baby a sucker. Right? That's what we do. It's always about the food. And that was okay before the food was crap. So, just some different things in Britain that I think are going on that are pretty cool. So, that is cool and that is cool. And then the last thing I want to share with you today is about the European Union unveiling plans on Tuesday for all plastic packaging in Europe to be recyclable by 2030 and phase out single-use plastic like coffee cups to fight pollution. The strategy announced by the European Commission, the EU executive, follows China's decision to ban imports of foreign products to be recycled, including huge quantities from Europe. Interesting. The Commission aims to increase plastic recycling and for all plastic packaging to be reusable or recyclable by 2030, the executive body said. The Commission said its proposals also aim to create business opportunities by transforming the way plastic products are designed, produced, and recycled in Europe. Commission First Vice President Frans Timmermans said, "We must stop plastics getting into our water, our food, and even our bodies. The only long-term solution is to reduce plastic waste by recycling and reusing more. The Chinese decision is undoubtedly a big challenge, but let's turn that challenge into an opportunity," he added. The proposals did not contain plans for a tax on plastic packaging, which Budget Commissioner Oettinger proposed last week to fight pollution and to help plug a hole of about 13 billion euros in the bloc's budget caused by Brexit. "We have not found a way to introduce a European-wide plastic tax yet," Vice President Katainen, who is responsible for jobs and investment, told reporters. "It is too early to promise anything." Britain's Prince Charles and others held an EU-backed conference last year for drastic action to stop 8 million tons of plastic waste polluting the world's oceans annually. That is per year, my friends. Wow. The Commission said Europeans generate 25 million tons of plastic waste annually, but less than 30% is collected for recycling. Timmermans called for promoting awareness, urging parents to tell their children that a plastic straw takes only a second to produce, but 500 years to degrade. Wow, I'm going to think of that every time I see a straw now. He said the commission has launched a process to ultimately ban microplastics, which are found in cosmetics and other products, but slip into the body through food. Now, we talked about that recently. We were talking about the microbeads. One of the things I found really interesting in that is that it's in your toothpaste. So, it's pretty hard to brush your teeth and nothing get down your throat. So you're ingesting those. Just a little bit of plastic that you're putting into your diet and you don't even realize. So, very interesting stories. Lots of great stuff going on in the world. Thank you for letting me share that with you. And I will be posting all of these on the Positive Power Facebook page for you to check out at your own convenience. And you know what? Go check out more good news. Just go to whoever you search through Google, whatever. Type in good news. You know, there's lots of good news going on in the world. Or look up things that just make you feel good. You know, times are tough. There's lots going on. We don't know what's true, what's not true. You know, when you watch the news per se, right? And then you find out it's not, or, oh, geez, I don't know. Or you think it's news, and then you're like, oh, wow, that wasn't even news. That was a commercial at a news desk. So, you know, don't even go with what I'm saying. Look it up yourself. Validate. We got to validate everything anymore, right? So, definitely surround yourself by good stuff. Make yourself feel good. Whatever it is that makes you feel good and makes your heart hum, that's what I'd like to see you do more and more. So that's it for your good news for today. Thank you so much for joining me.